Welcome back to another episode of the FuelHer Energy Podcast, a platform that was created to share the inspiring stories of women in business, leadership, entrepreneurship, and just the wider world. Whatever they're doing, we want to know their stories, we want to hear their stories, and to share their inspiring and empowering stories with you all. But this podcast would not have been possible without our sponsors and our partners, including our community partner, ExxonMobil Guyana, Anson McCall Limited, Always and the Always Foam Brands, Praetorian Security Inc., Morgan's Investment Inc., Axis Investment and Consultancy, and Global Healthcare Supplies. And I know you might be listening and wondering, okay, how can I support? Listen, it is quite simple. You can support this platform by joining our community, reshare the content if it inspired you in some way using the hashtag FuelHer Energy Podcast. Comment, tell us your key takeaways. We want to know what it is that really stood out to you within the episodes that you hear. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, download the episodes and listen on the go. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm your host, Jamesia McCalman. Welcome to my side of the world, and you can feel free to follow me everywhere at Jamesia McCalman or jamesiamccalman.gy. Now, the big question, I know you're asking, who is joining us this week on the Fuel Her Energy podcast? Now, this young woman, she is a trailblazer. She embodies leadership. I think I can call her a friend. She is a co-worker. She's someone whom I look up to and I respect dearly. She is none other than Dr. Alista Bishop.
I am an industrial hygienist at ExxonMobil Guyana. I focus on employee health and well-being and develop programs that protect my colleagues. I am one of 1,400 women employed in Guyana's oil and gas industry.
As a local content analyst at ExxonMobil Guyana, I work directly with the local business community. I focus on the numbers, helping Guyana's economy and people benefit from oil and gas. This is what's possible.
Learn more about Rochelle and Ashley's stories and about ExxonMobil's commitment to empowering women in the workplace at www.exxonmobil.com/what is possible.
Alista, how are you doing? Welcome to the Fuel Her Energy podcast.
Oh, thank you for that warm welcome. It feels great to finally be here.
Finally! I always like to tell the people how I met my guests, and I think our story is quite unique.
One for the books.
So Alista is recently appointed as the chairwoman of the EU Guyana Chamber of Commerce, and I must say that I'm honored to be under your leadership. You recently started just 2025 in terms of taking up this role here, but the work that you've been able to accomplish in such a short span, I must say, kudos to you. Here's your flowers. But Alista, as I introduce you, one of the things that I said is that you embody what leadership means. You function in so many different capacities, so many different chambers, and you also have your own enterprise, your own business access consultancy. But we know you didn't get here overnight. I always am intrigued by the stories of the women who sit in this chair, and I want to know, who is little Alista? Like, if you were to look back and to describe young Alista, like, did you even see yourself where you're at today?
Definitely not on the Fuel Her Energy podcast, because Lil Alista was a little rebel.
Oh yeah? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in the city. My mom is originally from Tiger Bay and my dad is from Kitty. So I grew up within the two areas, the neighborhood per se. Spent most of my time in Tiger Bay because of my grandmother on my mother's side, who kind of raised us when my dad was away working. So coming from that part of society, you always know that, life is going to be a struggle because nothing was ever handed to you. You recognize from a very tender age that you need to figure out and you need to make decisions not just for yourself but for who you become. And I always wanted more for myself and my future self. So little Alista, growing up in the streets of Tiger Bay or in Kitty, my father used to have horse. So we had horse-drawn carts, and growing up, I had to walk the horse, take it out, do those kind of stuff. And I saw academic as my way out from my financial struggle. Firsthand, I think my upbringing taught me resilience and taught me to be the person sitting in front of you today.
Yeah, and I am proud of the person sitting in front
Yes.
of me. And what would your grandmother say?
She would say, I am super proud of you because she always knew that I was going to make it. I remember when I was attending the Sacred Heart Primary School, which is a stone throw away from where we were living in Home Street. When we wrote common entrance back in 1999, I think please don't count my age. Yes. And my parents, when you come from certain communities in society, it's like you don't think about the secondary education beyond primary because you already know that they couldn't afford it. And I want to commend and give praises to businessmen like Germans, Stanley Ming, who stepped in for the community chair. And that year, there were 4 of us who wrote common entrance, and they were able to provide us with sponsorship so that we can go on to high school. So I say kudos to them. Today I still see Germans doing the same things that he does within the community, and I'm so proud of Clinton for continuing in his father's footsteps.
And with that, I what I'm hearing is that it really took a village
To raise a
to
child.
raise a child. It
Indeed.
took a village to raise Alista, not just your grandparents, not just your dad, but businessmen, as you mentioned, within who have their establishments within that community, who saw that we can make an impact in a little girl's life, and here you are today also giving them their flowers, and I love that. But also one of the things that resonates with me, Alista, is that you grew up in, as you would say, unfortunate circumstances. The access to finance wasn't there, but
God, the access to a meal wasn't there.
the access to
What's
meal
left to finance?
wasn't there. But Alista, now, here you are. Your career
Yes.
is one that focuses on finance.
Right. I think one of my most defining moments was walking away from a full medical scholarship. Growing up, I wanted to be 3 things: a lawyer, a doctor, or a journalist. The doctor, when I wrote CXC, I was given a full scholarship to Cuba on behalf of the government. That didn't work out because I think God had other plans when it came to the lawyer, because I love to argue. I was a national debater for the University of the West Indies. Big up the UE alumni St. Augustine campus debate team. Yes, I love to argue. All right, my mother will tell you the same thing, and that didn't work out either. Then I move on to my grandmother actually said to me, and I think that kind of penetrated when I said I want to study journalism. She says, have you ever seen Black people working on CNN? Maybe you need to edit that, right? Because that is racial.
No.
Sorry.
I think it's absolutely necessary,
Yeah.
because what that says to me is that you didn't grow up seeing the things that you wanted to be and the people that you wanted to be.
Yeah.
So that is
It's
that is
fine? Okay. Yeah.
that is perfectly
Alright.
fine, because what your story is now sharing with me is that there is a little girl who can now say, you didn't grow up seeing a black person, but now they're going to grow up seeing that there is a person that looks like me functioning in finance. She has her own business. Yes. She came through the struggle, because that's what we can call it. She came through the struggle, so that is absolutely fine. So
yeah. So when I went to her and I was like, I want to be a journalist, she's like, no. I was like, I want to work at CNN. You see the cute clothes that they wear when they're reading the weather? And she's like, do you see black people on CNN? I was like, that just put like a big dent in my dreams. Fast forward, I walk away from the medical scholarship. I figured that Cuba wasn't for me at that time. I think that God had different plans for me. When I got to Trinidad, I got to UE. I was able to fit right in, not at the beginning, because I was kind of like a nerd growing up. I don't think nobody liked me in high school. So yeah, and from there, life kind of took a turn for the better. I mean, I wasn't just studying for degrees or plaques to hang on my parents' wall. I was studying for a better way of life, for the future me, for my son now. And even now that I'm still in school, I just don't know when I'm going to stop. I'm just driven by academics.
So I'm hearing the accent. You mentioned
it comes and goes.
You mentioned that you attended UE. Share a bit with us that transition in terms of how that happened. Moving from, can we describe it as poverty?
Yes.
Right, from poverty, but your academics and the path that and the opportunities that it created for you.
So I'm going to share with you what I haven't told a lot of people. I don't think nobody else knows.
Oh, we're honored.
So when I had already gotten the Cuban visa, the scholarship, the stipend, and everything, and we were scheduled to leave Guyana in November, with Guyana Airways. So yeah, kind of big, right? Guyana Airways existed then. The semester had already started, and I think that is what drive fear into me getting to Cuba, having to spend 7 years not knowing the language of the country. And when I decided not to go, I didn't tell my parents. I basically had a stamp in my passport from the government that says this bearer of this passport is prohibited to travel because of academic obligation to the government. So usually you can't go anywhere. So I took back my passport, went to the Central Immigration, was able to get our stamp removed, and traveled to Trinidad. I never told my parents, because all that time they still think I was in Cuba. You have to forgive me, Mom. I'm sorry. That was a long time ago. Right? Got to Trinidad, come out of Fiarco, and really didn't had a clue on what I was doing.
No plan.
So
you just decided like a big girl. 16, Alista.
16 years old, then had no plan. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I was ready to face the challenge. I decided that was my future and I'm going to make it.
And you're going to figure it out.
Correct is right. I didn't have no friends, no family, zero, nothing. But I have always considered myself somewhat blessed. I was able to meet a masseuse who offered me a place to stay at the beginning before the semester started. She was able to make that connection. Shout out to Michelle Johnson from the Trinidad and Tobago Agricultural Society. She was an agriculturist. She studied plants and butterflies. Yes. She took me to Scotiabank the next morning, and she believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't even know what the clue I was doing. And she was basically like, this is this young girl, she's from Guyana, she's very smart, she wants to study, like, is there anything that you can do? She was a scholarship recipient. She represented me well. Scotiabank Trinidad was able to give me the opportunity. study at UE for 1 year, so they would have paid that. And she and her husband, they didn't have kids, so they kind of took me in under their wing. They offered me an entire room in their office, their home, sorry, where I would have stayed. And then gradually they got me a job. They got me working clothes when I got my first job from Payless. Yeah, so John and Michelle was very nice to me when I got to Trinidad. They are nice people out there still. My adopted parents, I call them.
So, on that journey of that 16-year-old girl, was there any fear of the unknown as you stepped on that plane and say you're going to figure life out on your own?
Plenty. I was scared of what my parents was doing. I grew up with a lot of licks. Like I said, I was a rebellious child, right? So my mother will beat the hell out of us with anything close to her and reach. And it didn't spoil me. Look at me today, right? I don't beat my kid, by the way. But I think that, spare the rod, spoil the child. I was scared because of my parents, and I think that I had a lot to prove for the people who believe in me, starting with those that helped me get to high school, with those that welcomed me when I got to Trinidad, and just the friends and the people that I met along that journey. Still figuring it out, but yeah.
Still figuring it out. So there you are, you're in Trinidad, you got this job. Tell us a bit about some of the challenges that you would have faced navigating a new country, a new territory, the unknown.
The first job I had was in a tile warehouse where I was forced to learn to drive forklift because I was an accounts clerk and was basically in charge of inventory. So they had like 7 different warehouses, and when the tiles are packed on the pallet, you have to jump in the forklift and move it. A couple of times I broke it, but today I can drive a forklift, can operate heavy machinery. Being at UE, I get to meet different people, even with my roommates when I moved to campus in my second year. I got to room with a St. Vincent person, another student from St. Lucia, a Russian. So they were all like kind and warm and welcoming. I fall in love in Trinidad as well. That is for another day, I guess.
That's another day, but I love the way it made you blush though. You truly fell in love. Yes. But Alista, so there's this young girl. She has a passion for journalism. Mm-hmm. She wants to, what else it is you wanted to study?
Law.
But
medicine.
And medicine.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to heal people.
You wanted to heal the world.
Yes.
Okay. Michael Jackson sang about you. Yeah. But listen. Where did the passion for the finance? Well, how did that happen? What fueled that?
When you find yourself in a foreign place, nowhere to turn to, and you are literally back against the wall, I was like, I need to make money, quick money, right? My student advisors at the time were like, oh, you could register for accounting and do it this semester, and transfer your credit to next semester for the course that you want. I was like, what kind of job I'll be able to get if I study accounting? I was like, oh, you could be an accountant, you could be a finance controller, you can be a CFO. I was like, well, how much does it pay? And she's like, here, Google it. I was like, yes, okay, yeah, let's do that. I don't know what it takes, but yeah, let's do that. And my love for money grew from then. I love money. Buy very cheap. Yeah. Very cheap.
Let's take an ad break. We will be right back.
Multiple FPSOs, drill ships, and support vessels. And this is just the beginning. Life offshore has become a reality for many Guyanese in the oil and gas industry, but in the past, we had to travel abroad to complete the necessary offshore survival training. Now, the training is available right here in Georgetown. I'm getting the skills I need and building the career I've always wanted. I'm Max, and this is what's possible.
Learn more about Max's story and how ExxonMobil's investments are benefiting thousands of Guyanese like him at www.exxonmobil.com/what-is-possible.
Welcome back to the FuelHer Energy Podcast with our guest, Dr. Alista Bishop. I know you guys are enjoying this conversation. Now we ended Alista telling us how cheap she is, and I was telling her in the ad break, no, you can say you're frugal. Well, you know what, Alista? It works, because now with this frugal mentality that you have, it helps with your accounting and how you were able to work for your clients. So, Alista, we're back in Guyana.
Yes.
What inspired the move to return home?
My grandmother. She wasn't well. And I was going through a rough time in my relationship. At that time, being pregnant, preparing to welcome my son. And I just think like that was the time to just pack up and come back home and, to be surrounded by family and friends. People are not always who you think they are, especially when you give your life to somebody. I know I shouldn't be saying that because my life belongs to God, but when you fall in love and you meet that person that is your person, and then you want to share everything with them, and then it doesn't work out, it kind of leaves you in a state of depression.
And how were you able to navigate that and healing from the hurt and the wounds that relationship would have caused you?
I think that there were so many red flags at the beginning that I tried to ignore that and figure that, this is what I want. And with me, I'm very determined. So when I want something, I want it to work in my favor as well. And plus, I'm very strong-willed too, right? I like to be the boss. While I believe in submission, I want to have the last say, and it wasn't always easy because we both wanted different things at different stages of our career. He was academic as well, but he was an athlete, and me being this finance person earning more, I think it put a strain on the relationship. So, when my grandmother fell ill, I was like, yes, not yes to her, but yes to my situation and the opportunity to come back home and be with my mother and father. I mean, it was like a lockdown. COVID-19 was a lockdown, but that was a different type of lockdown.
Let's talk about your grandmother. How would you say that she inspired you? Like, what does she mean to you? I asked you what would she say to you, but if she were alive today, what would you say to her?
She was a little cuss word, right? So thank God I ain't inherited that part. But my grandmother is the definition of resilience and a strong woman. My grandmother worked till the age of 93, taking care of older people than herself at the Palms right here. And when she felt ill and she couldn't work, I think that is what, deteriorated her health. And she was basically at that point ready to go back home to the Father. She felt like she has fulfilled her life purpose. And I really think that if she was here, she would have been super proud of me. She was the only person that believed in me, and she always encouraged me to wake up every day and be a better person.
AX
AX.
in AX Investment and Consultancy. what was the drive in starting that? So you went from working for people for years and investing
Yeah, you're
in others and in their businesses, but then here you are. Okay, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
What inspired that?
So remember earlier I said I love money, right?
Yes,
so I am
girl.
driven by investments and business. And I figured if I am working for someone and I'm giving you 8 hours every day, then what does that mean for me if I could give my own company 8 hours and then I see the profit that you're making because I'm a finance person, right? I ain't hiding nothing. And I figured then I can do the same thing, but I would never start a company that my employer is doing the same thing because that's a direct conflict. So the birth of AX was because I have families and friends who during tax period they will ask you to assist them with their taxes. And I was like, well, I can make money out of this because I ain't doing nothing for pro bono. I love money and very cheap. But I decided that I'm going to have this company. The X stands for the initial of my son. His name is Zavi because of the love that I have for soccer. Yes. Um, and the A obviously is for me, and then the investment part, the consultancy. And from then it was able to grow. I mean, we've had clients over the years. I have partners as well that believe in me. People like Ram Narayan, who owns Javish. I remember that was the first person when I came back to Trinidad. They gave me a job to do accounting because he believed in who I am and or was at that time. So I owe him an immense amount of gratitude, and I am thankful for him today. Every day I can pick up the phone and call him if I need advice on those kind of things. But yeah, AX has grown into this bigger company now where we have quite lot of clients. We're looking to expand into Suriname this year, and from AX I was able to launch other business ventures as well that we can talk about later. But recently launched a security company. I have the not-for-profit foundation, which is Humble Beginning, in honor of my grandmother and my humble beginnings coming from the streets of Tiger Bay. And I have a construction company as well, and now I'm looking to open a boutique. I just finished writing my book. I leave for New York in a few weeks where I'm going to meet with my publishers. So all of this I'm even saying to you now in the podcast, a lot of it will be in the book that is coming out.
Alista, as we begin to wrap up, now what you have been able to accomplish, as I said at the beginning, you deserve your flowers. It's incredible. It's admirable, and I appreciated you sharing your story with me, and I pray that there is, and I know that there might be a young woman who probably emerged from, it might not be Tiger Bay, but it might be some other underserved community, and she is there wondering, where am I going to get my next meal from? What is my next step? She might not be able to afford a trip, jump on a flight to go to Trinidad, but she's there trying to figure it out. How do I get myself out of this situation, out of poverty, out of lack? How do I overcome? What it is that you would say to that young lady who might be listening to you? You can look to the camera and talk to her.
Very good question. And my message will be that every struggle and every success, it all ties back to purpose. I want people to see my journey and know that you could come from difficult circumstances and still rise, but it starts with you. You have to believe in yourself. And it's like the quote says, you have to be the change that you want to see. You don't sit down and allow people to dictate who you become or what it is that you're going to do in your life. Challenges are always there. They're going to be hurdles. They're going to be stumbling block. but you have to keep going. You have to believe in the reflection in the mirror.
Alista, thank you so much. I'm inspired. I am motivated. I am fueled. Your conversation fueled me. And I want to say thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And overall, thank you for supporting this podcast. And I pray that your cup and your cups will continue to overflow even as you flow into others, and that the money will continue to come. Amen. It has to. Amen. Thank you so much, Alista.
Thank you for having me. You've been a really good hope, and you are an inspiration as well to the community that you are taking your message to. Fuel Her Energy Podcast. I don't know that it existed before you reach out, and I'm happy that my team and I have decided to come on board, and not just because we're sitting in this chair, but to see that you are changing lives out there with the viewership. Somebody who's watching one of the episode might resonate with them, and if anybody wants to get in contact with me to find out anything, they want to have any kind of financial advice.
Tax season is upon us. Coming up shortly.
While I don't have the doctor of medicine, I am the doctor of finance. I can't diagnose you for any sickness, but I can diagnose your budget and your finances. So you should hit me up.
I think that should be your tagline. How can they hit you up, Alista?
We have www.axic.gy. We're on Facebook and all the various social media platforms.
Alista, thank you so much again for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
To my listeners, to my viewers, that conversation was a mouthful. It was a bellyful. And you can't tell me that you didn't take something away from it. Share your key takeaways in the comment section. We want to hear from you. We are very honored to have you be part of this little community here that we are building. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back here next week, same time, same place, as we continue to fuel our ambitions together. I'm your host, Jamisi McCallum, saying thank you so much and bye-bye.